Hello, hello. You know, one of the things that never ceases to amaze me about Philadelphia is just how small of a city this really is. Like, despite the fact that this is America's sixth largest city with over 1.5 million people living here, crazy things happen, like how my first ex-boyfriend, the guy I dated from high school through college, accidentally ended up at my wedding. So I got married October 20th in 2018 at the Valley Green Inn in the Wissahickon. And if you've never been there, it is this beautiful, historic inn tucked away in a beautiful forest next to the Wissahickon Creek. And it is an ideal location for a fall wedding, which is what I wanted. I wanted photos in front of the fall foliage. I wanted to feel the crisp fall air. And that is why I booked this venue a year in advance. And so when we booked this venue, they were like, okay, there's two options. Valley Green is in two parts. There's like an event space in the back where you can just like dance the night away, and then there's the restaurant in the front. Now you can just rent the event space, or you could buy out the entire building, have it all to yourself. But I didn't want to be one of those brides that's like, yeah, turn all these people away at the door. I was like, no, I want to share this space with friends, family, strangers, and my ex, apparently. So big night comes along, turns out that another event has booked the restaurant area of Valley Green Inn. And I'm like, cool, cool, cool. I really love when I run into a random wedding out in the wild. It just so much joy. So I was really excited to provide that opportunity and that moment for strangers, for some other people. So the day, it's wonderful. Like everything went off without a hitch. Like my mom walked me down the aisle, my husband and I, we exchanged our vows, we danced the night away. I shared the first dance with my grandfather, and he tore up the dance floor so hard that people still talk about it to this day. And with 30 minutes left in the wedding, I decide, let me just step outside. I'm gonna catch my breath, really take in this moment. By now it's nightfall, it's dark out, and I'm standing by the Wissahickon Creek, and a shadow emerges from the darkness. This man, he extends his hand to shake my hand, and he's like, hey, I just wanted to say, you look really lovely tonight, congratulations. And he looks kind of familiar, but I can't place the face, like the context of the whole situation is like not making sense to me. So I just flat out ask him, I'm like, I'm sorry, who are you? It is my first ex-boyfriend's father. And this man who knew me from the ages of 15 to 20 when I dated his son, and it turns out that the other event was my ex-boyfriend's wife's 30th birthday party. What are the odds? Like, I was so blown away in that moment. Like, of all the places to have a birthday party in the city of Philadelphia, you pick the Valley Green Inn on the day of my wedding. So a lot of people ask me, they're like, oh, were you mad that he like crashed your wedding? Like they took up the other part of the restaurant. And I'm like, I actually felt everything but anger. At first, I actually felt kind of bad. I felt like I was the one crashing the birthday party because to be real with you, I was the bad guy in that relationship. Like, after 5 years of dating this young man, everyone was expecting that X and I would get married. And at 20, I was like really freaked out by that concept. And in my freak out episode, I decided to move to Germany and break up with him over Skype so unceremoniously. And like that was literally the last time like I had seen his dad. And so I'm like apologetic, and he's like, no, don't worry about it, because you know what? It all worked out fine. Clearly, it's a happy ending and everything. So in that moment, I just started to then feel like delight, like, oh my gosh, I love the synchronicity of chaos. I love when random events just have such deep meaning, and I'm just reveling in the fact that my first boyfriend is overlapping with my last boyfriend at this like monumentous occasion, right? So to share the joy with everyone, I run back into the wedding venue and I start telling everybody. I'm telling my wedding party, like, oh my God, you never believe who I just ran into in the, by the creek. And turns out that I was the last person in on this cosmic joke because my party was running into the bathroom and things like just, coalescing with the other party. My friend Catherine, who was one of my bridesmaids, she was like, yeah, I ran into X's mom in the bathroom, and she introduced herself, and you know what? She was actually really happy to see you get married, and I was really relieved at that sentiment because, last time I had seen her, I was a train wreck, so it's like, I'm glad that she got that closure. We all got that closure that, okay, Kae Lani's fine. She's good. She's good now. My aunt and uncle actually ran into my ex and his wife in the parking lot. They were trying to sneak out because they didn't want me to know that they were there, but the cat was out of the bag. But my favorite of all of this was the next morning I got a DM from a colleague of mine that I used to work with 4 years prior. We worked together at Wharton. And more backstory of how small Philadelphia is, while I was working at Wharton, I ran into X on the subway, and we were catching up. I told him where I worked, and this colleague of mine, we'll call her Megan. Megan was his wife's best friend and was the maid of honor in their wedding. And guess what? Megan was at the 30th birthday party, and Megan slides into my DMs, and she's like, I gotta tell you everything. I want to tell you the moment your ex realized that he was at your wedding. So let's backpedal it a little bit. Okay, we're back at the wedding, right? But now we're in the perspective of Megan. Megan, ex, and his wife are walking up to the Valley Green Inn, and a wedding is beginning, right? Okay, you hear an orchestrated version of Dancing Queen is playing while the wind is rustling through the leaves. And they're like, oh, cool, it's a wedding. And at this point, Megan, she's like, I started just vocalizing my thoughts in the moment because I was just bewildered. She looks down the aisle and she sees someone that looks familiar. It's my soon-to-be husband, John. And John has very distinguished salt and pepper hair. He went full Steve Martin at the age of 19. And she was like, that looks like John. Oh, Kae Lani's getting married soon. Wait, we're at Kae Lani's wedding. And she said that as soon as she said that, the doors opened and it's my mom and I, and we're about to walk down the aisle. And X jumped into the bushes. Because, and this is what he said, I didn't want to be the first thing that she saw when she was about to get married. So it was really, really sweet. And at the end of the day, everything turned out fine. We both got married, not to each other, but to other people. So we were all fine. And it just goes to show you that, you gotta treat people well in this town specifically because you never know who's going to crash your wedding. Thank you so much.